Joseph Ratzinger's writings on whether agnosticism can be a viable solution to the question of the existence of God, and faith in God and its origins. All right, so here on page 32 of the electronic edition here of Christianity and the Crisis of Cultures, you can just please review the sentence here in the second paragraph of the second page. So here Pope Benedict is saying, hey, it kind of seems like in today's world, agnosticism would be the responsible and intelligent response to the question of the existence of God, right? Because remember, he said before that when we are looking at the way that we know things, we trust the experts. We trust people who have the first-hand knowledge, people who really know about that thing for themselves. Now, God is not quite like one of those things. We can't go to someone and they can't prove to us their existence, the existence of God. Think back to Moses when he had the experience of the burning bush in the Bible. He said, "What if they don't believe me? Who's gonna share this experience that I had with you?" So, because of the experience of God is not always something that you can just prove case to case by doing scientific experiments. That firsthand knowledge in a certain way comes into question. So the question comes up, hey, is this something that we should just sit out on until we get further evidence? In other words, agnosticism, right? That's the angle. Now, you can't take the angle of any kind of evidence for the existence or the non-existence of God, right? You can't prove using the scientific method by doing experiments and seeing if you have the same results in different times. You can't set up all the variables, and you can't just go around and prove through some research that God exists or that God doesn't exist. That's also outside of the realm of the scientific method. So if the alternative would be agnosticism, just to say, well, we'll hold back until we do have enough evidence, then you have to ask yourself, says Joseph Ratzinger here on the next page, can that actually be a response? Is that a real life answer that's going to work for people in their everyday existence, right? Can anybody really be a day-to-day agnostic? Pope Benedict is basically going to say no. You can't, because the way you live depends on the way you see the world. So, in these first couple boxes, you see his answer to that. You really can't be an agnostic because when you start to live your life, the question comes up all the time, right? Not just what can I do, but what should I do, right? People are always taking an angle, thinking about what the right thing to do, thinking about the good thing to do, thinking about what's going to lead them where they want to go, thinking about their connection to others, asking these questions of ultimate meaning in things we do in our everyday life. So in the third box there, the second one down in the right column, in the right-hand column, he's talking about the question that we're asking and the subject of what we're looking for verification here in, or the subject of what we're having faith here in, is God, right? And so it's not quite like other things, right? Like I can test a fossil. I can look at it, I can do experiments, I can put it through a microscope. Other people can do the same thing and get the same result. The question of God, though, is not like looking at the part of something in our existence and analyzing and breaking it down. It's really the question of, in some ways, the whole of our existence. As he says down there at the bottom of page 33 or 34, the very foundation of the universe. right? We're looking at that which creates and animates the universe. We're looking at the horizon of being, as Heidegger called it, or the source of being. We're looking at that which from all else comes, right? Alba will talk about this as the transcendent, right? The philosophical term that a lot of people use is the ultimate reality, right? That which makes the universe, right? Or, like we might say in our second person religion of Christianity, God. So the question then becomes a question not just about, hey, what do I think about argon, or what do I think about the way that the subway system is structured in my city, or how does the light bulb work? It's not part of my existence that can be broken down and analyzed scientifically and under a series of experiments that can be repeated by myself and others at other times. No, it's really a question about everything, right? Everything, the foundations of everything. And when everything is coming from the same source, when everything has the same foundation, then everything is related. Everything is part of that which comes from God, part of that which comes from the source of all being, part of that which comes from the foundation of the universe, right? So we're really moving into a new area here, in which we kind of have to have to take a stand. We kind of have to say, yes, everything has a meaning. Yes, everything is connected. Yes, everything matters. And the way I treat people, nature, myself, it matters. It makes a difference. Or you have to say, no, there's no meaning. There's nothing to this, right? You have to kind of take another stance. So that's kind of the question. Really, agnosticism, well, I don't know if it matters or not. That's not really a practical way that people live their lives. People do live their lives in such a way that they see meaning in it or not, in one way or the other, right? I know all kinds of different degrees, and people can pick it up and drop it as they like. But Ratzinger's making the point here that it's not really a question that people live without deciding on in some way. So a nice example of the way that belief would affect the way someone in their life can be taken from Buddhism. Now, it's a nice example for discussion because Theravadan Buddhism, the oldest form of Buddhism, is a non-theistic religion. They don't believe in a personal God. Right? They believe in anatta, which is that there's no permanent self. And they don't believe, therefore, they don't believe in the Atman, or the eternal soul, which is one of the ways that God is expressed in Hinduism, which was the dominant culture in which Buddhism was born out of. So within Buddhism, they don't believe in a personal God, but they do believe in an ultimate reality, which they describe in several different ways. They call it in general the Dhamma, or the truth, and they might talk about it as dependent origination, which is a way that all things come to be through the human, as experienced by the human consciousness. Or they might talk about the three qualities of all material, that all things are impermanent, all things are suffering, and that all things are non-self, right? And so they have a vision of reality that is unified. All things are part of these conditions. All things are part of this process. Now, their goal is to escape suffering. Their goal is to end suffering. And because they believe in an ordered universe that unfolds according to this impersonal process of the Dhamma, they also believe that there is a way that you can respond to everything, since it's all part of the same thing, that there are ways to respond to every condition in life in a way that will lead you to find escape from suffering. And one of the ways they do this is through the four Brahmaviharas. So they believe that every condition in life, every moment in life, anything that happens to you should be responded to with loving kindness, compassion, sympathetic joy, or loving acceptance or equanimity. So this is the way that you see it's going to affect the way that a Buddhist, someone who believes in the Dhamma, is going to live their life. They're going to answer things that are pleasant and unpleasant with some form of love. That is not something that you can avoid once the question comes up. You have to say, hey, do I think I should respond to hate with love, or should I respond to hate with hate? You see what Pope Benedict means. You live your life as if you believe that God exists or not. If we look at Christianity, right, we have Jesus' teaching to love our enemies. And we see that affects people's lives. Martin Luther King Jr., right, the champion of nonviolence in the United States, changed things in our country due to his embrace and dedication to nonviolence. Right? So how you treat your enemies, that matters, whether you believe in God or not. Because we worship in Christianity a God who is love. And that question comes up. Right? If someone is doing ill to you, do you respond in kind, or do you respond with love? It matters. You have to make those decisions in everyday life. So the idea of an agnostic, well, I don't really know how I'm going to, maybe love is the foundation and source of all life in the universe. Maybe love is the ultimate reality, or maybe it's not. No, when push comes to shove, you're going to aim towards love, or you're not going to aim towards love. So again, it makes a difference. It's not really a fence you can sit on. People are going to end up on one side or another, or at least looking towards and trying to move towards one side or the other.